since June 1st, which is when the majority of our team, returned to campus. And for a while, we were, off without a hitch. Of course, those workouts were completely voluntary. I wasn't able to be on the floor with them, instruct them. They were able to get in both the weight room, and on the court. And then here since July 20th, since Monday, we've, two things. One, we've gotten off of quarantine. And then two, we've begun our workouts as mandated by the NCAA. We have 4 hours on the court with our team in any capacity that we want, whether it's individual, whether it's team workouts. And then they also have the ability to be instructed by Andy Kettler in the weight room as well with those other 4 hours. So, there's not a lot of time besides that time where they're over at the facility that we get to spend with them simply because of the time that we're living in. But, it's been really good. It was a long 3.5, 4 months. It was a little bit shorter for us here at Louisville simply because, like I said in the beginning, our guys did return to campus at the beginning of June.
Chris Brown, Cardinal Authority. What goes through your head when you have a couple guys, test positive and you have to shut some things down?
Well, the first thing is the safety of our players to make sure that they're doing okay, and so fortunately, the one that did experience symptoms was fine a day later. His sense of smell lingered, non-sense of smell for 3 or 4 days. But other than that, the fever that he experienced, the chills, I think the first he really recognized it was late Friday night. And by Sunday morning, he really felt like himself again. Again, I think that's an indication of, the vast majority of people in this age range. And the other guys were asymptomatic.
Chris Russ Brown with Kentucky Today. How much of a setback was it for the 2-week period that you couldn't do anything?
It's not so much of a setback. I mean, it's a disappointment, but we were one of the very first schools to bring our student athletes, our basketball players, back to campus. There are still some programs out there around the country. I don't want to speculate. Would that be the majority of programs? Possibly. There's a lot of schools that can't afford to bring their athletes back. There's a lot of schools in our league that still don't have their student-athlete basketball players back. So I don't think it was a huge setback by any means. In fact, I'd say we're really probably ahead of the curve. And again, we're way behind if you would compare us from year to year where we would normally be. But, we're all in this pandemic together. And so, it's just one of those things that you sort of deal with the circumstances, but I wouldn't say it was any type of setback.
Chris, hey, it's Jody Demling with Cardinal Authority. Do you have all of your guys on campus now?
We do, Jody.
What can you? Gabe, I guess, was the last addition. What did you see with him in the recruiting process, and to get him and to be able to have him sit out a year?
Yeah, so we've known about Gabe for a while, but he was always, in our consideration and his own consideration, a 2021 prospect. And I think with just the whole situation that everybody in the country, everybody in the world is dealing with, he wasn't sure if Hargrave Military Academy was going to have not only a basketball season, but would they go back to school at all? Hargrave, which I'm sure you guys know, we've had a lot of, players from Hargrave Military Academy over the years. They also draw students from all over the world. And a lot of their funding comes from international students. And just the roadblocks with that, Gabe wasn't sure if there'd even be a school year. And so we talked about that. Would he have the desire to maybe come here early, but not give up that year of eligibility and really work to continue to improve his body, his skill set, get to know his teammates. And, he was excited about that. So, there were a lot of really good schools that had offered him scholarships that were really pointing towards him being a 2021 prospect. Fortunately, we had a scholarship in the class, and, we've talked all along over the last 2 or 3 months of wanting size, and that's what Gabe presents. So we were really excited to get him.
Chris, this is Ken again with WHAS 11. What have you been able to see now that they're on campus from your grad transfers that you got in?
Right. So, the 2 grad transfers, Charles Minlin and Carleek Jones, they've been with us for, since the beginning of June. I think Charles got here maybe a week later. He just being a little later enrollment and stuff, getting him all situated with paperwork. So he came in about a week later. But I think in terms of experience, both of those guys are going to add a whole lot. Carleek's really dynamic. He is he's a player that has a lot of swag, a lot of confidence, and really, really understands the game, uses his body well, really changes speeds. Kenny can really shoot the ball, as evidenced by his 40% three-point shooting from a year ago. It's going to be a lot different. He's going to be one of the better guards that we've had here in my 3 years. So we're really looking forward to adding Carleek. And then I think Charles gives us, he's smaller than Dwayne Sutton, but I think he gives us that type of mentality, that type of game. He sort of knows where the ball's going. One skill doesn't necessarily separate him from everything. It's just all the things that he brings to the table. He's a pretty good passer. He's a good finisher. He's a good rebounder. I wouldn't say he's elite or great at one thing, a little bit like Dwayne, but he's a competitor, and he adds good size in the backcourt. He can play the 2, can play the 3 at 6'4", 215, 220 pounds, whatever he is.
Here's Fred Calgill in WFAY. Would you talk about Sam? See how is he doing? Expectations for him this coming season, as well as David.
Yeah, Sam's going to have to make a big jump for us to have the type of season that we're expecting. I think he learned an awful lot, watching Jordan and watching Dwayne and competing against those guys every single day in practice. What I think he's done a lot better, and I said it in a long text to him last night, is he's ready from the minute one. And, it seemed like Sam was that lawnmower that you had in the shed for the entire winter before you first started to, cut your grass the first time in the spring. It just took him a long time to get going every day in practice. And, now we're doing a warm-up drill, and Sam's out there dunking. I think he understands the intensity that's needed at this level. I think he's become a much better shooter. Like every freshman that becomes a sophomore, I think his confidence has grown. He knows what to expect, both from his coaching staff, from the game of college basketball. I expect a whole lot out of Sam this year.
Coach, most of the talk, of course, is about the football season, but how concerned are you about the basketball season?
Well, I'd be lying if I didn't say I wasn't concerned. But, if I were a betting man, and that's illegal in the NCAA's eyes, so I'm not, I would tell you that, we're going to have some type of season. I don't know what that's going to look like. But even the most conservative, Dr. Fauci is talking about a vaccine being available in November, December, January, which leads me to believe that, we may not have fans beginning of the year. That may change as we get later towards our season. They can always push back the season. There's a lot of different scenarios that we're talking about as an ACC coaching staff on our weekly meetings, trying to just generate as many contingency plans as we possibly can. And so while a lot of talk and a lot of eyes are on the sport of college football, there are a lot of good people behind the scenes that are trying to figure out what men's basketball can look like. And I don't have the answers to that, but I'm confident that we're going to have some type of season, even if there's doomsdayers out there saying that we won't.
Coach, this is Matt McKenna with Sports Social. Kind of going back to preseason expectations, how has Aiden and Gahan progressed over this offseason and developed? What are some of your expectations for him heading into the season, and what do you expect his role to be?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to play out between now and when we start the season. Aiden, first and foremost, has to get in great shape. That really held him back a year ago. He lost his wind very quickly. Certainly his skill set has to improve, but, it was just the intensity that he was not prepared for. I think he'd be the first to tell you that. Having said that, Aiden was, in the worst part of our country during the pandemic. So while certain players on our team had access to a gym, or they were able to go outside, they were able to find maybe a local high school that had a football track, a football stadium with a track, and do some running. Aiden was in New York, New York City. He was in a bad spot. He was relegated to his apartment a whole lot, or his house, I should say. And so, again, I think first Aiden's got to get in great shape, and that's going to take a while. But I expect him to be the fastest big on our team. I expect him to play more like a medal eater around the basket, play with reckless abandon. And if he does, then he'll have an impact on our team like we expect him to.
This is Tim Sullivan, the Courier-Journal. Follow up on what Russ was asking. There have been suggestions that the season should be moved up. I think Dan Gavitt has been pushing that, and Rick Pitino, among others, wants it pushed back. Do you have a preference? And if it is moved up, does that favor you or hurt you?
I think, Tim, Dan Gavitt, I think he's come on record saying that it was more of a conversation starter. I felt like with all the talk being around college football, that he didn't want the basketball season, like our seasons overlap. And so he didn't want all the conversation to be centered around football and not have any concern towards basketball. Right now as a program, we're locked in and set to play the season as it normally would be, knowing that we have to be flexible. And if all of a sudden they say we're going to push back the season a couple months, then we'll be flexible enough to adjust our practice schedule to be ready to go when we start. But our guys have been off for 3 or 4 months. The most important thing for me is to make sure our guys get in shape without getting hurt. And that's a long time to be off. I don't have a preference. Just want to play basketball. Well, not play. Let's coach.
Chris, this is Ken again with WHAS 11. How far behind are you guys this year? Like, if this was a regular year, how much farther behind are you guys right now to where you would normally be?
Well, I mean, if you're, comparing it year to year, yeah, we're way behind. But again, it's all relative. We get measured versus our counterparts. So they're all in the same boat unless they're doing some, illegal things, which I guess you never know. But no, we're excited to get our guys back June 1st. They're getting in great shape. Kettler has done a really good job with them. A lot of the guys came back. They looked good. You wouldn't think that they had been sitting around for 3 months. We tried to give them what we could from afar. I think several of the guys did what they could. And so, yeah, from year to year, Ken, we're way behind. But, we've only had our guys now since March 11th, 1 week, on the floor in terms of instruction.
Chris, Fred Calgill again, WOKY. David Johnson, what do you expect from him this coming season?
Expectations for David are enormous. They should be. I expect him to be very consistent if we're going to be a really good team. I think David gave everybody glimpses. You think of at Duke, just some of the plays he made against Virginia. But, he's got to be that way damn near every single night. And I expect him to be way more of a talker and a guy that can lead versus sort of a looker and a guy that took instructions and direction. He's got to get much better defensively. He's got to gain more confidence in his shot, and he's got to handle the ball in terms of, whether he's playing the point, whether he's playing the two. He's got to make better decisions with the basketball. And again, much like with Sam, freshman to sophomore year, I'd like to see a lot of growth, both skill set, but also between the ears. But David's a huge piece to our team.
Chris, this is Aaron Matus with WDRB. I believe the response to the notice of allegations is at least due here in the next couple of weeks. I know it could be delayed some, but how much have you worked with Vince Tyra and others on what the response might be? And, I remember him saying he's kind of excited that the process finally got started in a way. Do you share that sentiment a little bit too, to finally kind of get this thing moving and out of the way?
Yeah, you can't finish a race unless it starts. So we want closure. I don't worry about that stuff. I let Vince, I let our attorneys and all the other people that are dealing with that deal with it. I give my opinion and have since the time I've gotten here to Vince, but I let sort of the experts handle that. I'm worried about coaching our team.
Chris, recognizing that everybody's in the same boat, do you have to adjust your practice plan long range to try to accomplish as much in a compressed period of time, or are you prepared to kind of ease into it?
Well, like to be able to do both, Tim, but it's not possible. So I would tell you that my first goal is to make sure our players stay healthy, both with the pandemic, but also from the standpoint of when they first get on the court. I don't think we can go, 200 miles an hour, minute 1 to, minute 120 on the first day. So we're doing a lot of individual instruction. We're doing drills that require conditioning, but hopefully, aren't very harmful in terms of, you'd like to think that the collisions and all the things that happened in live competition, we're sort of, keeping the reins on that for a little bit. We just want to get our guys as best we can in better shape before we really start, pushing the envelope on putting things in. From an offense to a defense, to all that stuff, I just feel like there's more time, and we'll worry about that in time.
Give us a sense then for what kind of shape they are in. Are they in good shape but not basketball shape?
I think, they're in good shape for a Division I athlete that, was trying to do some stuff around the house. Sure, but the type of coaching that you usually get at this level, the expectations you have at this level, you're always saying, go harder, go faster, let's go longer. That's not a possibility, and I don't want to get anybody hurt. So, they're in better shape than you, but they're not in better shape than when they left here March 11th.
Everybody's in better shape than me.
Chris, this is Aaron with WDRB again. Just curious about the freshmen. They obviously had a weird end of their senior year. It's an odd summer now for them. And there was I know we talked a couple months ago about how this summer they're going to miss out on some stuff. How are they handling kind of this odd time, or are they coming along all right?
Yeah, they're more resilient than I think we as older adults give them credit. I feel bad. Obviously, I've got a family as well, and I'm watching my own daughters who are younger than that, go through the same things of losing seasons, losing competition, losing award banquets. I mean, you name it. A lot of those guys were playing in all-star games and graduations, and they're in their car going to a high school graduation, like a drive-by. It's just, but we're dealing with that all around the country. These guys are very resilient. The three freshmen that we have, certainly DeAndre and JJ, have been here longer than Gabe. They're excited to be here and get acclimated to a new place and to new people. And they're doing as well as they possibly can. And I feel for them. And I feel for everybody that's got children that have, sort of going through this weird time in our lives.
Chris, hey, it's Jody again. What did Jalen get out of last year, sitting out, watching, and going through everything while redshirting, and kind of the expectations for him moving forward?
Yeah, I think the biggest benefit that Jalen got, Jody, was with his body. Coach Kettler was able to keep Jalen in the weight room way more than any other player on our team. Those guys had to worry about being ready to play a game, being ready for the next practice in preparation for the next game. Jalen just had to worry about showing up to practice, but we needed to get more strength on him. We needed to get more weight on him. And he really put on 20, 25 pounds since the very first day he's gotten here. We were a little nervous, him being in Charlotte for 3 months, that he was going to show up back as Jalen, the newly graduate from high school body again, and he didn't. And so that was a huge plus. Certainly the experience that he got playing against Jordan Wara and Dwayne Sutton, Malik, Steven, because Jalen can play a lot of different positions. The versatility in the athlete that he is, really puts us in a position where we can utilize him in different positions. So he gained a whole lot learning our system, getting comfortable here as both a student and as an athlete. But I think the major benefit Jalen got was just his physique really changed during his freshman year.
Chris, this is Kent Taylor from Waves TV. Has the unscheduled time off or a break, has that afforded you an opportunity to do some things maybe that you wouldn't have been able to do if you had been more busy? I saw something the other day where Archie Miller was talking about having talks with other coaches, including yourself, and learning some things like maybe traveling on game days that you maybe have taught him. Are there some things you've taken from those kinds of things as well?
Yeah, I mean, I would say especially early on, maybe the first month and a half, 2 months before people were sick of Zooms, we got together quite often as coaches and just shared ideas, shared philosophies, and it wasn't just about X's and O's, maybe how to handle players, like you said, like you mentioned, traveling. And so I thought that was really, really good. Sometimes it gives you an idea to maybe change something or tinker with something that you do, or maybe it reaffirms to you that what you're doing you really like and you think that's the best way to do things. So it was great, but I'd be lying if I said I really truly enjoyed it, and I don't mean that part of it, just all the things that we did this spring and summer, having the inability to go to AAU tournaments and see prospects play. I feel like Scott Satterfield, I've watched more recruits on the computer than maybe my entire 20-something years as a college coach, but that's sort of what was required during this time.
Chris, this is Aaron with WDRB again. As we all try to make predictions moving forward, I just wanted to get your predictions on the Reds here as MLB opening day is upon us.
I just hope we're not 15, 20 games out of first place by the time we're in game 45. A shortened season should help, should help the Reds. I sure hope it does. But put me down for 33 wins, 33 and 27.
Chris, this is Ken again with WHAS 11. When you talk about the pandemic, there's so much about the physical part of this, but, you hear coaches talk about the mental impact that it has. How important was it that you saw for your kids and for yourself and for your other coaches just to be able to get on the court for a little bit together?
That's why we were so, I was very adamant with Vince that, like, hey, we have to get our players here to campus as soon as we possibly can, regardless of whether the coaches were allowed to instruct them, Kent, on the floor or not. I just felt like for their well-being that we could provide as safe of an environment for our guys as anywhere else in the country. If they're going to go to a local YMCA or Planet Fitness to get shots up, they're better off doing that in the Keeper Center. Same thing with lifting weights. We were going to have the ability to test our athletes, whether they, had COVID or not. And so it's, we're all dealing with this around the country, but I just felt like there are so many ramifications of keeping our guys back home, which everybody sometimes, unfortunately, feels like is the safest thing to do is to shut down and stay away. I was the complete opposite. I'd rather have these guys around each other so they're in good spirits, and obviously do it in as safe a manner as we possibly could. And so we've had, like I said, a couple guys test positive. Those guys have gotten over it. We're wearing our mask and doing what we need to do with workouts. And I have a really good feeling that we're going to be able to get through these 3 weeks before our guys go home when summer school ends and return in the fall.
Anything further for Coach?
Coach, this is Matt McGevick again with Sports Illustrated. Kind of going back to Jalen Withers, do you think he's made enough progressions both physically and in this game to maybe get some early starting time at the 4 spot, or is that still kind of up in the air at this point?
Well, Jalen, as I said before, he has the versatility to play a lot of spots. I would definitely say he'd be in our front court more than he would in our back court. I think he can guard a lot of positions because, as big as he is, as tall as he is, and as long as he is, he really moves his feet well, and he's a great athlete. So, he's going to play both the 4 at times, to play the 5. And he's got to have to guard a lot of different positions. And I do think that he's improved dramatically since he's been here. There's still going to be some welcome to college basketball moments where he lacks concentration, where he's not as sharp as he needs to be. But those are that's how you get better. You screw up. You watch film, you figure out how to get better, and use those experiences to better yourself. And looking forward to having Jalen on the roster to do that this year.
Chris, you've probably seen John Calipari's beard. I'm wondering if you gave any thought to letting yours grow.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me what I thought about his beard.
Well, that too.
No, I won't talk about Coach Calipari. I would tell you that, first of all, I probably couldn't grow one. I might be the only 50-year-old in the country that it still comes in a little patchy. I don't know if I've gone through puberty yet. So, I'm just fortunate that I have a little remaining hair up here. But no, I would never even try to grow a mustache, a goatee. I shave and come to work every day, even during the pandemic.
One more for Coach. Anybody?
Chris, how hard has it been, or has it been any harder to put together a schedule? And have you had, I know Las Vegas is early in the year, have you had to change anything yet to the schedule?
Well, it wasn't hard to put together a schedule. I think what's going to be difficult, Jody, is whether we're going to play it or not, And so just to give you food for thought, like we start playing guarantee games and there's no fans, like where's the guarantee being drawn from? And so there's a lot, other schools, are they testing? There's a lot that goes into this that you don't quite realize until you get on these, conference calls with your counterparts at other schools and the athletic directors as well. So schedule's set. Feel great about the schedule. I don't know if the dates are going to change or the opponents are going to lessen. But, whatever this season becomes, we'll be ready to play and we'll be excited to play.
Chris, real quick, this is Ken. Is Cincinnati a done deal?
Cincinnati is a done deal.
Cincinnati is a done deal.
Yep.
And how much, like, if you guys aren't able to have fans in the stands for those games, I mean, how much does that impact? Does that impact you at all? I know obviously it impacts the athletic department, but how do you view that?
It'd be odd. I've done a lot of closed scrimmages. In the past, I think Kenny was privy to his first one against Ohio State. And when they hit back-to-back threes in an empty arena, and you feel like what little air there is at the Yum Center goes out of the building, it's an odd feeling. So, I'd certainly much rather have fans. If we can get any type of percentage in that building, we're going to try to do that. But, those decisions are going to be made, way above me. So we're just going to be ready to play whenever they tell us we can play. So, it's definitely a weird experience.
Great. Well, Coach, thanks for taking the time. Thanks for everybody for joining us today. And
thank you, guys.
Okay.